Hello. I know I told you a couple weeks ago that I would get on here and talk about what I believe was a third key to effective outreach, and I just have had the busiest couple of weeks, so we haven't done that yet, but I wanted to get on here today and just take a minute. I'm sitting outside. It's a beautiful day. I think it's going to be 80 degrees. I was soaking in a little bit of sun because I need it, and was just thinking on a couple of things, meditating on the Lord and just letting Him speak, walking by faith. And it is a beautiful journey. It is a beautiful journey, and it is a stretching process as well. So anyway, we'll share more of that another time. But last time we spoke, I spoke about the number one key, love, meeting the needs of people priority. And the second key was sometimes you're going to have to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And the third key that I believe is the concept of compassion is contagious. And with that, I just want to kind of share where that comes from for me. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a young lady who is now a dear friend of mine who was volunteering, and she kind of worked her way into the front desk. Okay, so she started assisting me part-time, and I remember one day she called me and she said, I just wanted to call and tell you, and she's really great at this. This is one thing I have to say. She was always so great about communicating positive things. And so she called me and she said, I just want to tell you about this situation that happened to me today. I was walking down the street, and I might get some of the details of the story wrong, but you're going to catch the basic gist. She was like, I was walking down the street and I saw this young mom across the street who was really struggling. She had a young child and she was frustrated. Her patience was gone. You know, the situation was getting a little bit hectic, right? And she said that she crossed the street and she went over to the young mom and she just offered her help. And I don't know if she hugged her and just told her everything was going to be okay. Like, it's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. You've got this, you know. And she went over and just like made contact with her and really just ministered to her, right? So she called to tell me that had she not been in the environment that she had been in working with me at the center for the last couple of years, that would not have happened. That because she had seen how I ministered to the people, or, you know, connected with the people, it really empowered her to go outside of her comfort zone and do the same thing. Then I had another lady who worked at the front desk. And one day I was working from home. She was at the front desk, and I called and she said, you know what, I have to step out really quick. I want to run up to the store. There was a lady who had escaped domestic violence, and she was in a safe house in DC, and she was coming to us for clothing, food, the whole nine. She was trying to get started with a job, and she needed a few things that we didn't have. And the lady at the front desk said, you know what, I really feel it's just on my heart to go and do for her myself. And so she went and did that for herself. And I had like this like mother moment, right? Like, I was so godly proud of these women who had caught compassion, right? They like caught that culture of compassion, that way of just being a blessing and not being afraid to step into the mess and step into somebody else's world. You know, I think we've become like so isolated, and we all just mind our own business. You know, we barely even speak to people, you know, in the stores or doing whatever we do as we're out and about, let alone to somebody who might be on the street and in need, or, you know, somebody who has a really great need and maybe to the point where they have to ask, you know, because that's another thing. Let me just tell you, when people get to the point where they have to ask for help, the need is dire, okay? Because how many of you know in your own life, you will go and go and go and go and never ask for help, find every other way to rob, steal, borrow, and whatever else. And so when you get to the point of needing to ask for help, it's really significant. And a lot of times what we do is we just we isolate, we back up. We don't want to make these personal connections. I don't know if it's the culture we live in. I don't know if it's this day and age, the news with so many negative things happening, but I just want to encourage you that compassion is contagious. If you will reach out and do something and you will lead by example, that's what I've found. I have found that just by me doing what God has put in my heart to do, it has created an environment that those who are near to me, those who are close to me, feel compelled to do the same thing. A couple of months ago, I had a friend who was visiting from Connecticut, and we were driving. My girls were in the back seat, and we drove by somebody who was on the side of the street who needed something, and my oldest was like, "Mommy, are you going to help them?" And I said, "Honey, I don't have any cash on me." And she's like, No, stop. I have some cash." So she pulls out her purse, and I pull over because I'm not going to stop her. And she pulls out a 10. Okay. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, "Honey, don't you have a couple of dollars in there?" And she's like, "No, I want to give her a 10. So we gave her a 10. And that is the culture that we have created within our home. And I just it blessed me so much that her generosity was no, this is what I want to give her. I don't care if I have $1. I don't care if I have $4. And I just want to encourage you that if you will begin to walk in a place of compassion, it is going to overflow to those around you. And that's how we make the change, right? We all know that saying, the change, we are the change we want to see, right? And the change begins in us. So I encourage you today to start setting the example. Start setting the example of compassion. Start setting the example of kindness. Start setting the example of joy, friendliness. And just step out and watch what begins to happen around you. You make a difference. You make a difference. I never set rules in place that said you should go out, everyone who's going to volunteer, you have to go out and do this on your own. No, I just created this environment where compassion was seeping out of my pores because that's what God has put in my heart to do, not because it's of any sort of, not that I should receive any accolades for that. I am literally just operating in the way that I know to operate because that is what God has done in my life. Or it's how He's made me, or it's how He's molded me in the process. But to watch how that example has caused others to move accordingly has been the greatest blessing. And then what happens is then the impact is multiplied, right? It doesn't just depend on where I am and what I'm doing. It has spread because compassion is contagious. I'm telling you, it is absolutely contagious. I see it in my children's lives. I see it in my associates. I see it in my friends. I see that what I do, and even as you give to others and those who are in need, they receive that level of generosity. They can't keep that to themselves. They can't, because it's a blessing, right? It's such a blessing when you receive something that is so generous from the Lord that you can't keep it to yourself. Compassion is contagious. So I encourage you. Listen, I always say to people, it is not ours. So stop holding on to everything you have so tightly and become a conduit that God can flow through, right? It's like easy in, easy out, easy in, easy out. And when God sees that He can trust you to go to give you something in and for it to go out, He is going to give you more and more and more. So start to use what God has given you, whether it's something in your spirit, whether it's something in your bank account, whether it's something in your resources. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be one thing or another. Just start being generous with what it is that God has given. And understand that as you begin to reach out, people are going to catch on and they're going to follow your example. You set the tone. The change is in you. We've been saying that over and over and over again. The change is absolutely in you. And I am so excited to see what God will do in you, in your family, in your business, in your employees, in your church staff, in your volunteer staff, whatever it is. Start leading by example. You don't have to get up there and put a whole bunch of rules and make people do things. No, you start walking in a certain way, people are going to get excited and they're going to follow right after you. Compassion is contagious. That is my third key to effective outreach. Lead by example and watch what happens. All right, have an awesome day. It's so good to get on here and chat with you, and we will talk soon. Bye.